Within the silent depths of the Akashic records, the soul's journey reveals secrets that many fail to recognize, signs that a spirit may be tethered too long to the illusion of the material plane. As the teachings of Cayce unveil, there exists a profound purpose behind these earthly entrapments, an opportunity for awakening, a call to transcend the karmic cycles that bind us, the lingering presence of unresolved karma, the subtle signals whispered through our physical and emotional dissonance, all point to a deeper need for spiritual awakening. The soul's quest for liberation is not merely a matter of chance, but a divine process rooted in the expansion of consciousness, an awakening of the Christ consciousness within that can unlock the chains of the earthly realm. The ancient wisdom guides us through practical steps to transcend these limitations, revealing that the journey toward divine reconnection is both an inner awakening and a sacred duty, if only we recognize the signs and answer the call. In the silent corridors of the Akashic records, where the eternal fabric of existence is woven with threads of divine truth, the soul's journey unfolds as a sacred story, one often misunderstood by those still captivated by the illusions of the material plane. As the readings reveal, the depths of this journey are far more intricate and purposeful than the casual observer might perceive. The soul seeks not merely to experience, but to evolve, not merely to survive, but to transcend. It is within these depths that the true meaning of earthly entrapment reveals itself, a divine design rooted in the eternal quest for consciousness expansion and spiritual awakening. The soul, before incarnating into the dense realm of matter, exists in the luminous realm of pure spirit, a state of unity and perfect harmony with the divine. Yet, it is within the veil of material existence that the soul's true purpose begins to unfold. The earthly plane, as revealed in the Akashic records, is not a realm of punishment or mere testing, but a sacred crucible, a place designed to catalyze growth, to deepen understanding, and to awaken the divine within. The apparent entrapment, the feelings of being bound by karma or caught in cycles of suffering, are but surface illusions masking a deeper truth, the soul's enduring desire to remember its divine origin and to reclaim its Christ consciousness. In these readings, Cayce's insights shed light on a profound spiritual principle. The purpose behind the earthbound limitations is inherently tied to the soul's evolutionary journey. The dense veils of forgetfulness that shroud our consciousness serve as necessary conditions for growth. Without the contrast of ignorance and suffering, the soul would lack the impetus to seek higher truth. The soul is drawn here into the material realm as a student in a divine classroom, an arena where the lessons of karma and reincarnation unfold in meticulous order. These lessons are not arbitrary. They are tailored to the soul's previous experiences, designed to bring unresolved conflicts and imbalances to conscious awareness. The records speak of the soul's innate longing for unity, the divine spark within that continually seeks to reunite with the source of all existence. When the soul becomes entangled in the illusion of separation, when it forgets its divine origin, it begins to resonate with dissonance. The physical body, the emotional turbulence, the mental confusion, all are signals that the soul's journey has been temporarily sidetracked from its true purpose. As Cayce's readings reveal, these are not punishments but opportunities, divine nudges urging the soul to pause, to reflect, and to awaken. The deeper purpose of earthly entrapment is rooted in the concept of karma, cause and effect, an immutable law inscribed in the Akashic records. Every thought, word, and deed leaves an imprint, a karmic pattern. Awaiting resolution, the soul incarnates with the opportunity to balance these patterns, to heal past wounds, and to elevate its vibration. Yet, this process is not merely transactional, it is spiritual alchemy. The soul seeks to purify its consciousness, to shed the layers of ignorance and illusion, revealing the divine light that always resides within. Within the depths of the records, it is written that the soul's journey is guided by divine love and purpose. The earthly entrapments, illness, material struggles, emotional turmoil are often the catalysts for profound inner transformation. They serve as wake-up calls, beckoning the soul towards greater awareness and understanding of its divine nature. It is through these challenges that the soul learns compassion, humility, and patience, virtues necessary for the ascension into higher states of consciousness. Moreover, Cayce's teachings illuminate the role of the Christ consciousness, a universal divine energy that resides within all beings. The journey of the soul is ultimately about awakening this divine consciousness, a process akin to returning home to our true selves. Earthly entrapments, in their divine context, are lessons designed to activate the Christ consciousness within, fostering a realization that we are not separate from the divine but expressions of it. In understanding the depths of the soul's journey, it becomes clear that earthly entrapment is not an end but a means, a sacred pathway that guides the soul back to its divine origin. The soul seeks balance and harmony, and through the incarnations it reclaims fragments of its divine light that have been scattered through the ages. This process is akin to a grand symphony, where each incarnation, each lesson, adds to the crescendo of awakening. The revelations in the Akashic records affirm that the soul is infinitely resilient and inherently divine. Its entrapments are temporary illusions, opportunities to grow, to purify, and to remember. The divine plan encompasses all experiences, and within every shadow lies the seed of divine potential. As we meditate upon these teachings, we come to understand that the journey into the depths is a sacred pilgrimage, an ascent from the darkness of forgetfulness into the light of divine consciousness. And so, dear seeker, as you reflect on your own journey, remember that the earthly realm is but a stage, a necessary chapter in the soul's eternal saga. The records reveal that through awareness, intention, and divine guidance, the soul can transcend these limitations. The awakening of the Christ consciousness within is the key, an inner illumination that unlocks the chains of illusion and restores the soul to its divine home. In the sacred silence of the records, the message is clear. The depths of the soul's journey are not a prison, but a sacred passage, an invitation to remember, to heal, and to reunite with the divine. The path is illuminated by divine love, and the soul's ultimate purpose is to awaken to its divine nature, transcending the earthly plane and returning to the infinite light from which it came. In the silent depths of the soul's eternal voyage, there exists a delicate dance between the divine and the material, a dance that, when out of harmony, reveals subtle signals, whispering the soul's lingering presence within the earthly realm. As we continue our sacred journey, guided by the revelations of the Akashic records and the teachings of Edgar Cayce, we come to understand that the soul's attachment to the material plane is not merely a matter of physicality, but a complex interplay of consciousness, karma, and unresolved longing. The records reveal that the soul, in its divine essence, seeks to awaken to its true nature, a state of Christ consciousness where unity and unconditional love reign. Yet when the soul becomes entangled in the illusions of the material, it often leaves behind faint but discernible signals, subtle signs that indicate it has not fully transitioned back to the divine source. Recognizing these signals requires a deep discernment, a sacred attunement to the whisperings of the inner self and the universe. One of the primary signs, as illuminated in Cayce's readings, is a persistent sense of unrest, an undercurrent of discontent that cannot be fully explained by external circumstances. It manifests as a restless energy, a longing that remains unfulfilled despite material gains or worldly successes. The soul's true home is not in possessions or transient pleasures, but in the divine light within. When this inner dissonance persists, it signals that the soul may be caught in the web of earthly attachments, reluctant to surrender the illusion and embrace the profound freedom of spiritual awakening. Another subtle indication is the recurring patterns of karma that seem to cycle endlessly, like echoes from a past life's unresolved conflicts. The records reveal that the soul's inability to let go of certain emotional wounds or attachments may keep it tethered to the material plane. These patterns often manifest as repeated relationships, persistent health issues, or recurring circumstances that seem to trap the individual in a cycle of suffering. The soul, in its quest for growth, must recognize these signals as invitations, opportunities to heal, forgive, and transcend the limitations of the past. The third sign is a sense of disconnection from one's higher purpose, a feeling that life is merely a series of routines and superficial pursuits, devoid of deeper meaning. Cayce's insights tell us that the soul's true journey is one of awakening to its divine origin, a process that requires conscious effort and spiritual discipline. When an individual feels this disconnection, it is often a sign that the soul is seeking to remember its divine heritage, but has become entangled in the illusions of the material world. Further, the Akashic records reveal that the soul's energy may become dense or stagnant when it lingers too long in the physical realm. This stagnation can manifest as feelings of heaviness, fatigue, or emotional numbness, states that serve as warnings of spiritual stagnation. The soul's vibration, which should naturally ascend towards higher consciousness, becomes weighed down by unresolved fears, doubts, and attachments. These signs remind us that the soul's ultimate goal is to elevate its consciousness, to transcend the material, and return to the divine light that is its true nature. Yet Cayce's teachings emphasize that these signals are not punishments or failures, but divine signals, a sacred call to action. The universe, through these subtle cues, beckons the soul to awaken, to recognize its divine essence, and to undertake the necessary alchemical process of healing and transformation. The soul in its infinite wisdom seeks balance. It seeks to align itself with divine love and to move beyond the shadows that obscure its light. How then can we assist those who are caught in this state of limbo? The teachings of Cayce reveal that compassion, understanding, and spiritual guidance are the keys. It begins with recognizing the signs, those gentle whispers of the soul's longing, and approaching them with reverence. Prayer, meditation, and inner reflection serve as sacred tools to attune oneself to these signals, to listen deeply and discern the messages encoded within. Moreover, the soul's journey involves forgiveness, both of oneself and others, as a vital step towards liberation. The Akashic records show that unresolved guilt or resentment can anchor the soul to the earthly plane, preventing its ascent. Embodying love and compassion dissolves these barriers, allowing the soul to ascend in consciousness and reconnect with its divine origin. Healing through understanding one's karma is equally essential. Cayce's insights teach us that by consciously addressing the root causes of our patterns and releasing the emotional baggage of past lives, we facilitate the soul's return to wholeness. This process often involves revisiting old wounds, forgiving, and embracing divine grace, the universal healing energy that flows from the heart of creation. As we deepen our awareness of these signs, we also recognize the importance of cultivating a conscious connection with the Akashic records. These sacred archives hold the keys to understanding our soul's history and guiding us towards the resolution of lingering attachments. Through dedicated spiritual practice, we can access these records and gain clarity on the lessons our soul seeks to master in this incarnation. In the end, the journey back to the divine is not a distant goal, but an ongoing process, a sacred unfolding that requires patience, surrender, and love. The signals that indicate a soul's lingering within the material plane serve as divine invitations, reminders that the path to spiritual freedom is always open, awaiting our conscious choice to step into the light. Remember, as Cayce's readings reveal, the soul's true nature is eternal, luminous, and whole. The signs are subtle, but they are profound, guiding us back to the divine within, where the Christ consciousness awaits, ready to ignite the divine spark that has always been part of us. The universe whispers these truths softly, but with unwavering certainty. The soul's ultimate purpose is to remember its divine origin and to reunite with the infinite love that is its true home. In the quiet depths of the soul's eternal voyage, there lies a silent yet profound force, an unseen hand guiding the intricate dance of our existence. The power of karma, as revealed through the sacred records of the Akasha and illuminated by the insights of Edgar Cayce, is a truth woven into the very fabric of our spiritual journey. It is the divine mirror reflecting the echoes of our past, the unfinished lessons, and the imbalances that continue to ripple through our present life, creating dissonance not only within ourselves, but also manifesting as physical disquietude. As an archaeologist of spiritual mysteries, I have uncovered that unresolved karma, those debts of the soul, can be the primary barrier that keeps the spirit shackled to the material plane. The records tell us that each soul, in its inception, carries a ledger of experiences from countless incarnations, each one a chapter written in the ink of choices, actions, and intentions. When these chapters remain unbalanced, when forgiveness has not been Granted, or when lessons have been avoided, the soul's progress becomes hindered. This stagnation manifests as a heaviness in the energy field, a sense of being trapped in cycles that repeat with relentless familiarity. The readings reveal that unresolved karma is not merely a matter of guilt or remorse. It is an energetic imbalance that distorts the harmony of the soul's vibration. It creates a disharmony that echoes into the physical body, producing diseases, chronic ailments, and a sense of disconnect from one's higher self. The body, as a sacred temple, reflects the soul's state. When karma remains unresolved, it produces what Cayce described as dissonance, a discord within the spiritual and physical aspects of the self. The heart feels heavy, the mind restless, and the spirit, longing for wholeness, becomes weary. In essence, unresolved karma acts as a barrier to the consciousness of Christ, the divine within all of us. It clouds the soul's clarity, obscures the memory of divine origin, and anchors the spirit to the lower realms of materiality. Yet, as the records reveal, this is not a state of eternal punishment, but a sacred opportunity for growth, correction, and ultimately, liberation. The journey towards spiritual awakening requires that we confront these unresolved imbalances with honesty and compassion. Cayce's teachings emphasize that forgiveness, both giving and receiving, is the key to unlocking the chains of karma. When the soul forgives itself and others, it initiates a process of energetic realignment. This act of divine mercy dissolves the accumulated charges of resentment, guilt, and regret, allowing the spirit to ascend toward higher consciousness. Furthermore, Cayce's insights point to the importance of understanding past life influences. Often, what appears as a present-day ailment or obstacle is rooted in a previous incarnation's unresolved issues. The soul carries these memories not as burdens, but as lessons, waiting to be integrated and healed. The records show that by accessing the Akashic library, individuals can uncover these hidden truths, confront the root causes of their karma, and work consciously to restore harmony. This process involves conscious effort, meditation, prayer, and a sincere desire for transformation. It requires the recognition that the present is an opportunity to rewrite the script of karma, to choose love over fear, and to align oneself with divine principles. Cayce's readings reveal that when the soul actively seeks forgiveness and understanding, it begins to shift its vibrational frequency, gradually dissolving the energetic imprints of past imbalances. Physical dissonance, therefore, is a reflection of spiritual imbalance. The body speaks to us, revealing the areas where karma remains unresolved. Chronic pain, recurring health issues, and even mental disturbances are signals, divine invitations to delve deeper into one's inner world and address the karmic causes. The records confirm that healing is not merely physical, but holistic, embracing the spiritual, mental, and emotional realms. When we align with divine compassion and accept responsibility for our soul's journey, the healing power of karma can be transmuted into growth. The sacred truth is that karma is not a punishment but a divine mechanism for evolution. It is the universe's way of ensuring that the soul learns, grows, and eventually returns to its divine origin, pure and whole. The teachings of Cayce emphasize that no soul is beyond redemption. Every imbalance can be healed through awareness, action, and divine grace. In Saman, the silent chambers of the heart, the soul seeks balance. It yearns to shed the weight of unresolved karma and to step into the light of Christ consciousness, where love, forgiveness, and divine understanding reign supreme. The journey is arduous, but it is also sacred. Each step taken in acknowledgement of past lessons brings us closer to the divine harmony that the universe intends for all beings. As we continue this spiritual pilgrimage, let us remember that the power to heal and transcend resides within us. The records affirm that by confronting our karma with humility and compassion, we unlock the door to true freedom. The soul's ultimate purpose is to evolve beyond the cycles of suffering, to remember its divine origin, and to radiate the eternal light of Christ within every aspect of our being. In this sacred quest, the universe whispers a profound truth. The past is not preordained to imprison us. Through awareness, forgiveness, and divine intention, we can rewrite the story, restoring the harmony that our soul longs for and awakening to the fullness of our divine potential. In the silent depths of the universe, where the etheric records pulsate with the rhythm of all existence, lies a truth as old as time itself, the power of consciousness to elevate the soul from its earthly entrapments. Readings reveal that the journey of the spirit through the planes of illusion is intimately tied to the awakening of awareness, an awakening that stirs the divine within and begins the sacred process of liberation from the bonds of unresolved karma. The soul, in its essence, is a fragment of the divine light, an eternal spark, seeking to rekindle its original luminosity. As an archaeologist of spiritual mysteries, I have uncovered through the sacred records Akashicos that this divine spark is not dormant by nature, but is rather veiled by layers of forgetfulness and illusion. Those layers, born from the collective consciousness of humanity, often cloud the recognition of our divine origin, trapping the soul in a cycle of rebirths and unfulfilled lessons. The role of consciousness, therefore, is paramount. It is the key that unlocks the door to higher understanding and inner awakening. As the ley lines of the soul's journey cross through the ancient Atlantean civilizations, whose consciousness was once attuned to the divine harmonics, they serve as the blueprint for our current spiritual potential. When awareness is raised, when the individual begins to perceive beyond the physical realm and into the subtle energies that permeate all creation, the soul begins to remember its divine heritage. In the silent depths of the soul's eternal voyage, the journey from earthly illusion to divine remembrance is both sacred and profound. The readings reveal that many souls remain tethered to the material plane, caught within the web of karma and unresolved earthly attachments. Yet, within the timeless Akashic records lies the blueprint of every soul's potential for liberation. The key, as Cayce's divine insights disclose, is not merely an understanding, but in active, conscious application of divine principles, prayer, meditation, and visualization, tools bestowed upon us to elevate consciousness and transcend the limiting confines of the physical realm. As an archaeologist of spiritual mysteries, I see these teachings as sacred artifacts, ancient keys that unlock the door to higher realms. The soul, seeking its divine origins, must learn to harness these sacred practices. Through them, the soul aligns itself with the divine currents flowing from the Christ consciousness, an indwelling divine spark that calls us back home, beyond the illusions of form. The first step in this sacred process is meditation, the still point where the soul whispers its deepest yearnings. Cayce's readings reveal that meditation is not merely a practice of quiet reflection, it is an act of communion with the divine. When the soul enters into stillness, it awakens to the presence of the divine within, dissolving the illusions of separateness that keep it earthbound. It is through meditation that the soul begins to re-establish its connection to the divine origins, the eternal light that resides within every cell, every fragment of divine consciousness. To practice effective meditation, one must cultivate a state of heartfelt intent, an earnest desire to commune with the higher self. As the mind quiets, visualizations become powerful tools. Visualize a radiant light, perhaps a golden or violet flame, surrounding and penetrating the heart center. This is not mere imagination, but a conscious act of aligning one's consciousness with the divine energy that flows through all creation. Cayce emphasized that in these moments, the soul's consciousness can be lifted into realms beyond the physical, where the divine blueprint resides. Prayer is the next vital step. Cayce's readings reveal that prayer is not just asking for aid, but an act of aligning one's will with divine will. It is an acknowledgement of the divine presence within and a surrendering of ego's illusions. When the soul prays with sincerity, it opens a channel for divine grace and wisdom to flow into its consciousness. Prayer becomes an act of humility and love, an invocation of the divine power that can dissolve karma and heal the soul's wounds. The act of prayer must be rooted in truth, humility, and love. In these sacred conversations, the soul affirms its divine nature, calling upon the universal laws of harmony and balance. Cayce advised that prayer should be continuous, a constant dialogue with the divine, fostering a sense of unity with all creation. Through sincere prayer, the soul cultivates the divine virtues, patience, compassion, forgiveness, that are essential for liberation. Visualization plays a pivotal role in manifesting the divine qualities necessary for transcendence. Imagine the soul enveloped in radiant light, expanding beyond the physical body, reaching towards the higher dimensions of consciousness. See this light as a bridge, connecting the earthly self to the divine self, the individual to the universal. Cayce's teachings suggest that these visualizations can accelerate the process of awakening, helping the soul to shed layers of illusion and karma that keep it bound to the material plane. Integrating these practices requires discipline and intention. The soul must be committed to daily communion, dedicating time to quiet reflection, prayer, and visualization. These sacred acts serve as spiritual nourishment, aligning the individual's energy with the divine purpose. Through consistent effort, the soul's vibrational frequency rises, awakening it to the realization that it is not a mere fragment of matter, but an eternal divine spark, seeking to remember its origins. The divine's grace is always present, waiting to be accessed by sincere effort and faith. Cayce emphasized that the soul's liberation is not a distant dream, but an attainable reality when these spiritual tools are applied with genuine love and humility. As the soul practices meditation, prayer, and visualization, it begins to dissolve the barriers of ignorance, fear, and karma, those old layers of illusion that obscure the divine light within. In this sacred work, the soul reclaims its divine blueprint, restoring the original harmony intended before the fall into physical density. The journey back to divine consciousness is one of remembrance, a reawakening to the Christ within and the divine origins that span beyond time and space. Remember, dear seeker, that your journey is sacred. The steps of meditation, prayer, and visualization are not mere routines, but sacred rituals, portals through which the soul can transcend the earthly plane. Through these divine acts, the soul aligns itself with the divine currents, dissolving the illusion of separation and awakening to its eternal truth. In doing so, it reclaims its divine heritage, opening the door to the higher realms where true liberation resides. So, let your heart be open, your mind receptive, and your will aligned with divine purpose. For as Cayce's teachings reveal, the path to liberation is paved with conscious acts of love, faith, and divine recognition. The soul's journey is eternal, and each step taken with sincerity and humility brings it closer to reunion with the divine source, a reunion that was always meant to be. Remember, the journey of the soul is a sacred unfolding, an eternal dance between illusion and divine truth. The messages within the Akashic records and Cayce's teachings remind us that awakening is always possible when we consciously choose to remember our divine origins, embrace forgiveness, and activate the Christ consciousness within. Every step towards spiritual awareness dissolves the chains of karma and brings us closer to the luminous reality that we are divine beings, incarnate, seeking to reunite with the infinite love from which we came. So I invite you to reflect deeply, share your insights, subscribe for more sacred revelations, and share this message with others on their path of awakening. Together, let us illuminate the world with love, compassion, and the divine light that resides within us all.